This project is a 5th grade project called Open and Close Composition, and you're teaching the students about the difference between when a subject is fully enclosed on the paper rather than going off the edges. And so they are going to make an open composition flower. So the flower will go off the pages. For this project, they need pictures of flowers, and I've included them as part of this project so you can just print them off. I think there's 12 or 13 flowers in the document. So you want to just make enough copies so that there's enough flowers for each student to have their own. And so they're going to have these, and then you could save these so that multiple docents could use them. They're not one-time use. And then the other thing you're going to need is these viewfinders. So this is just a 6x6 piece of black construction paper, and then I folded it and cut a rectangle out of it. So it's about a 2-inch square out of the middle. And then the students are going to use the viewfinder and place it where they want. And they can really do however they want. The goal is that the edges of the flower go off at least 2 sides. But if they want the edges of the flower to go off all 4, or something like this, just 2 or 3 sides, it's really up to them how they want to use the viewfinder. And I've intentionally made the flowers a size so that they can't fit the flower fully in the square, so that they have to use that idea of open composition. So they're just gonna place, they can decide how they want to do it, whatever they want, and then they're gonna tape this down so that they can use it as their subject the whole time. Because they're gonna wanna keep referring back to this picture because they're going to enlarge this onto a bigger square of paper. So and they can, if they have white coming off the edge, that's fine because the background doesn't have to match. They're just focusing on the flower. I'm gonna just place mine and then just put a piece of tape down to hold it on. That way they don't have to keep, if it moves, they still know what they're doing. And then they're gonna use a square piece of construction paper, and they're gonna enlarge what's in this square onto this. I have white paper, white construction paper. You can use black construction paper, colored construction paper. I love the look of black construction paper with the oil pastels. So it's up to you and how you want to do it. I'm using oil pastels today. You can also do this with watercolor or even tempera paint. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to show you how to do it with the oil pastels. This is a great project to use the oil pastels and kind of teach them how to blend the colors of the oil pastels. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to use a pencil, and they're going to transfer the outlines of the flower onto their paper. I would remind them, and this is a hard concept for them, but if you remind them that they want to use their pencil very lightly. This is always a difficult concept. They really like to push hard, but then their pencil lines will really show through their whatever medium you end up using, oil pastels, watercolors. So the idea is to use the pencil nice and lightly so that they can cover up the pencil. So I'm just gonna start, basically just get the outline of the flower petals, and then I can start filling it in. So I've got the basic outline of my flower. Again, you can probably just barely see it, and that's the idea, is it should just be a really nice light sketch. And then they are gonna start using oil pastels or whatever medium you choose to start filling it in. And they want to eventually fill in the whole paper. One thing is the background in their picture does not have to match the background. So they can choose to change the background behind the flower, but the flower should look like the flower that's in the viewfinder. So they can start filling that in and help them to use, if you use oil pastels, help them to use them and kind of experiment with blending them, coloring on top of each other, next to each other, you know, using your fingers to rub them, kind of help them to experiment with all the different effects they can get with the oil pastels. So once they finish coloring the flower, they can do the background. And I would just encourage them to use a contrasting color to make sure it's not too similar. Again, they don't have to use, you know, this background is kind of a green and black. They don't have to do that. They can use something more that they want the background to look like, whatever they choose. So I'm just gonna finish by filling in the background. So this is the finished flower for this project. I would encourage you to spray it with a fixative or hairspray because there's a lot of oil pastel on here, so it's gonna smear a lot, and you can see it already is smearing just from where I've touched it. So, and that's what can get a little frustrating with the oil pastels, is they can start to feel like it's messy, and so just when they're getting to that point, just have them finish up and then give it a good spray